So let's start low, say oh, and then let's come up to neutral, ah, and then let's go to ah. Now see how none of those got hung up or stuck? So everybody feel this hard cartilage right here in your throat, okay? We call that the vocal box in contemporary singing. That's the fun way to say it. But right there is your larynx, and that's housing the vocal mechanism and the vocal cords. It's protecting your voice, okay? So you can feel that hard cartilage, and all the exciting things for singing are happening inside that box, okay? So that's your larynx right there. And if you rest your fingers here, you'll feel that it moves with different naturalisms. So if you swallow, you get a high larynx. So try that real quick, and you'll feel the whole mechanism lifts up and pops back down into its neutral position. Can you feel that? And if you yawn, if you start a yawn, you feel it dip low. So that's a low larynx position, okay? And when we sing, we've been taught that we want to sing in that low larynx position for vocal health, and that anything where it's coming up higher is probably unhealthy. And there's some truth to that, okay? But the deal is, basically we have 3 positions that we can begin to learn to command in our technique. So if you rest your fingers on your larynx and you begin to speak vowels, you can feel different positions. Your neutral position is kind of your home base. That's where you want to be most times for technique and health and freedom, okay? And we have a neutral position in our natural speech. And if you speak an ah vowel, say aha. Aha. Most of you at that tone are gonna find a neutral position. If you wanna feel it be a little higher, you can widen your mouth and speak a slightly higher vowel, ah. Right, so by widening the mouth, the larynx comes up gently and we get a high larynx condition. If we go the other direction and we do like a vowel that has a little more depth and roundness to it, we round the corners of the mouth, so like ooh, and you'll feel it subtly move down. So you see how subtle those movements are. They aren't huge, like when you swallow and when you yawn, but you can use that and it changes the tone of your voice, the pitch of your voice, and it also changes the shape of the vocal tract. So what we need to get to is where we can sing with different larynx positions for different styles and also for different technical advantages. First, we have to make sure that we have independence from the larynx. And what that means is that some of you, the reason you've heard teachers talk about this is as you start to sing higher, we're born with an innate natural ability to scream and to cry, okay? Think about infants. When they get upset, this comes up really high and they start screaming and then they get all the attention and the help that they need. And you've got that naturalism kind of baked into you. So we're working against that first thing in singing. We want to make sure that the larynx doesn't rise involuntarily. So if you're singing up a scale and you're getting ah, and you start to feel like you're hitting a wall and you can't sing any higher, a lot of times it's the larynx rising. And that's what your teachers are talking about, where you don't want that involuntarily coming up for a high note, okay? But just like that, if you've ever seen a little kid and they're talking to mom and dad and maybe they're pouting or they're arguing and they want to sound like an adult, they put their chin down and they're trying to darken their tone and sound a little bit bigger. And that also is a little bit of a force and a little bit of a tension. So just like we don't want the larynx to rise up for higher pitches, we also don't want to push it down low, because that creates a lot of tension and force on the voice. So the first thing that we want is to get a little bit of freedom. And we want to make sure that this has minimal movement. It's completely natural for you to feel the larynx move around as you sing and as you talk. But what you want to stay away from is those extremes where it's limiting your voice. One of the questions that comes up the most for me in singing is, how can I sound like me? What does my voice sound like? And oftentimes, if your larynx is neutral, that's going to be your most true, your most pure sound. Okay, singing like speech. I'm going to give you a scale next that has you do all 3. So we're going to use those vowels, but I also want you to change your airflow. Remember that when you're in a low larynx position, you can sing a little louder. When you're in neutral, it should be medium. And when you're in a high larynx position, you need to use a softer breath force. I still want you to have an even volume, but I want you to use less force on the singing and on the vocal cords. So let's start low, say oh, and then let's come up to neutral, ah, and then let's go to ah. Remember, the goal is to have freedom and independence at the larynx level. So if I was to go, now see how none of those got hung up or stuck? But I'm changing my tone. So that's when you know you're ready, okay? If I was coming up and I was getting like, and then I can't sing, then I need to get that larynx independence first. But as soon as I feel free and easy in here, I can start going for style and for tone color. So you got to get a good breath, and we're going to do those 3 scales. O, ah, ah. O, ah, ah. medium volume, less volume. There you go. Oh. Ah. Ah. Good. Now consider your mouth position. Round, round, and released corners of the mouth for the low larynx. 2, 3, oh. Neutral mouth and spread. Right. Putting that subtle smile in the lips is going to slightly elevate the larynx. It's that simple. Okay, again, 1, 2, 3, and oh, is that working for most people? Yeah?
Interested in more voice training? Visit us at wolfstudiosnyc.com.